everybody these days have been talking about, oh, my car insurance rate's so expensive, my homeowner's insurance, everybody's homeowner's insurance is going through the roof. You probably quoted yourself on a couple of those sites, and guess what?
Yeah.
You were about to pay $800 a month too much. I think customer service is not a dead, art. And people want somebody who has a little bit of experience and personal history with it. You gotta, everybody's scared. Everybody's nervous to try to start something new. And no matter what, you're going to have people that might be nice to your face, but behind the scenes, they're preying on your downfall, and that's just the nature of life.
Welcome to the Biz Life Podcast. I'm Donnie Bedore, your host. We are here to talk about the business life, not the busy life. So today we have a great episode for you. If you are ever interested in, health insurance or life insurance or building processes, and I have a great guest today that is super knowledgeable. So we're going to really put him on the hot seat and, get some good information for you. So welcome, Marshall.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
It's Marshall Watts from Marsh Insurance. Is it correct? Just Marsh Insurance? Marsh Insurance Group?
Group, yes.
Yeah,
Marsh Insurance Group.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, welcome to the show. Finally got you on.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, this episode is sponsored by Gray's Craze. So for some of y'all that have been watching the show, I'm the owner of Gray's Craze along with my wife and my family members. Well, I just forgot my Biz Life shirt. And so I figured, hey, listen, Gray's Craze is going to sponsor the show. Free plug. Not on purpose, I promise you. But anyway.
Sponsored by the Charcuterie King.
That's right. So those that are not familiar with the show, maybe this is your first episode watching. This is the Biz Life Podcast. It is dedicated to small business owners, entrepreneurs, really just to glean insight, inspiration, to help you along your way. So I met you at the BNI group that we go to. And actually, whenever I joined the group, you were the president of the group.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little while ago now. You've been in the group quite some time now.
Yeah, I'd say that. A couple of years. But it's been good, It's been
Absolutely.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So let's start off. Tell us a little about yourself, family, history, work history, things like that, right? What are you doing?
Sure. So my name's Marshall Watts, originally from Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay. I know I don't sound like I'm from Louisiana.
I wouldn't have picked that up, yeah.
But I was born and raised there, and I wanted to get out of there as quick as I could once I graduated high school.
Okay.
So I came over to DFW area, Fort Worth, went to TCU here in Fort Worth, and I just fell in love with the area.
Yeah.
And did a lot of things. I was super involved. I was probably over involved. That was kind of my shtick in school.
Yeah.
I did too many things, probably for my own good, but kept me out of trouble. So that's
I identify with that.
That's a good thing. I like to stay busy.
Yeah.
And so, funny enough, I actually went to school to be a doctor. So I came in pre-med. And I did the neuroscience track. So I went all the way through school and then decided in the middle of med school interviews that I wasn't 100% sure that I wanted to be a doctor. Okay. And so I kind of had like a identity crisis, if you will, because I convinced myself I was going to be a doctor from like the age of 6. So I had no clue what I wanted to do. Bounced around a couple different jobs, just trying to figure it out, because what do you do with a neuroscience degree if you're not going to med school?
Right.
And then I fell into sales, fell into health insurance. Yeah. Wasn't my intention. I was planning on getting some sales experience and doing med device. Okay. But once I started working in the insurance industry, one thing that I found was health insurance specifically is a very underserved demographic. There's not a lot of agents out there that are good at it and that even really offer it. Yeah. And so I just kind of fell in love with, the concept of helping people was still there, just like being a doctor would, but just a different avenue. And it was kind of adjacent to the work that I had done working in hospitals and things like that. And so I slowly fell in love with it. Wasn't very good at sales in the beginning, but
who is?
you gotta sink or swim. I mean, it was a pure commission position, so I had to figure it out.
Okay.
Decided to go back to school, get my MBA to try to learn how to run a business because I had no business background.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, so I started that in 2018. 2022 was when I decided to step away from the agency that I was working for and start my own agency. And the main reason behind that was I was only able to sell a limited, group of products.
Okay.
And I was getting a lot of referrals, very blessed, but I was having to refer out those referrals more often than I could write them. And I didn't feel good about that. I wanted to be able to help the people that were coming to me for help. And I also was working about 70 hours a week in the office and never saw my wife. We were, trying for our first kid, and I was just like, I can't do this to my children. I don't want to do this to my wife anymore. And so I walked away from a very comfortable residual income that I had built up over 4 years and basically started at zero. And
it's a leap of faith.
Yeah, it was purely a leap of faith, maybe poor decision making as well. But
leap of faith sounds better.
Yeah, I found out my wife was pregnant, decided to leave my job as the pretty much the sole income earner a week later. And then start all over. But I figured I was 29 at the time. I was like, if I'm going to do this, this is the only time I'm ever going to have to do it. Once we have kids running around, you can't just make those decisions. It's a lot harder.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, it's been kind of a struggle, a lot of a learning process in the past couple of years. But starting in 2024, I'm kind of seeing the light, and the benefits that actually come with being a business owner. And it's definitely not. I definitely didn't do it and end up working less than I was working, but the difference is I'm working for myself, and so. I'm able to put my name and my stamp on it. And Marsh Insurance Group. Nice. I kind of melded the swamp aesthetic, the marshy aesthetic of growing up in Louisiana, along with my name. So it kind of worked out. Yeah. And so we've been in business just over 2 years now, and we have some really amazing clients, and it's been a really good thing for us, and it's been a blessing. Even all the learning experiences, it's been a blessing every step of the way.
Yeah. And you alluded to the second part of that question was your wife, kids, things like that. So
yes.
When did you meet your wife, and how long y'all been together?
So I met my wife, Caroline, in 2015. It was my senior year of college, her junior year of college. And we started dating, and we got married we were one of the COVID couples. Okay. So I proposed in 2019. We ended up rescheduling our wedding 3 times because of COVID. But we had a backyard wedding on our original day in 2020 in her parents' backyard.
Nice.
Had to wait another year to do the actual wedding. So I got to deal with 2 years of wedding planning, not just one. Wow. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And we just had, we have one daughter. She is 17 months old now. So we had her beginning at 23. Yeah. And her name's Chapel Grace, and she's just the light of our lives. And those 2 women are literally the reason that I wake up every morning. Yeah. I'm not a morning person, but I get up about 4:45, 5 o'clock every day. Yeah. And that's what drives me. We have 2 awesome dogs, and, cool. I'm just very blessed with a happy and healthy family.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I didn't announce it this morning at BNI, but Landon, my oldest, is pregnant.
That's
not
exciting.
him, but his wife is pregnant.
That's super exciting.
Yeah. So going to be a grandparent.
Your first grandbaby?
Yep.
Oh man,
first one.
That's going to be quite the experience. My in-laws, this was their first, and they are literally at our house like twice a month.
Yeah.
Visiting. They just can't stay away.
Yeah,
but it's really cool because, you know, when they say it takes a village to raise a kid, they're not lying.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Then they live 4 miles from us now. They just actually closed on their house today with Sandy.
That's exciting.
Be right down the street.
Right down the street.
Super
not
cool.
Too far away. That's awesome.
Yep. Well, anyway, let's dive in. You know, there's a couple things I'd like to dive into. Let's first talk about health insurance, right?
Okay.
For the younger generation, I think of my kids, right? And they're mid to early 20s, right? Thinking about health insurance. They're no longer on, you know, parents' plan. They sort of got to do their own thing, right? And it just seems like health insurance has skyrocketed up so much. Whenever I was their age, I think I was paying like maybe $200 for the family, right? Through Blue Cross Blue Shield, through our work, right? Those numbers are gone, I think.
Yes. You know, and people talk about the insurance industry in general. So, you know, when you look at it, there's really two distinct sides. They kind of commingle, but there's really two distinct sides. And everybody these days have been talking about, oh, my car insurance rate's so expensive. My homeowner's insurance, you know, everybody's homeowner's insurance is going through the roof because of all the hailstorms and everything else. And on the health insurance side, I think fortunately we're a little bit more insulated from things like the impact of natural disasters and things like that. But on the health and life side, there's a lot of legislation that affects our business.
Okay.
It is very dependent on what the government is doing and what different, you know, legislation and bills are passed. And so what we've seen is, you know, for the vast majority of people, you know, if you're just going out and buying a traditional small group plan, for example,
right,
those rates are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're super, super expensive. And really the reason behind all that, you know, homeowners insurance and car insurance, those are affected by car prices, home prices, catastrophic losses, things like that.
Right.
You think about health insurance in the same vein, those things are affected by the cost of medical care and how much hospitals are charging for things and all of those things. So there's a similar set of factors that have to be taken into account when you're looking at health insurance. But it's pretty unique. And I tell a lot of my clients this. If you think about it, health insurance is really the only insurance that you'll ever buy that you actually expect to use. So you buy car insurance, you hope you never file a claim. Homeowners insurance, you hope you never have to file a claim. Life insurance, you really don't want to file a claim, right? Because that means something bad went down. But health insurance, you know, you're thinking about co-pays and, well, how much does it cost to go to the doctor and how much does it cost to get a lab work done and things like that. So health insurance is a little bit different because you actually expect to use it.
That's a good point.
And health insurance, if we think about the cost of medical care, it's the only insurance that is designed to have no cap on the top end of the coverage, right? Because a heart attack could be $200,000 for, you know, 3 or 4 days in the hospital.
Right.
A stroke could be $500,000. I've seen a $400,000 claim.
Golly.
I mean, from one of my clients. And so most of the time, insurance companies can limit their liability by saying, well, your homeowners is covered up to X amount. Right. And so that's why they are a lot more affected by claims. Health insurance is legally not allowed to rate you up based on claims.
Oh, okay. I did not know
that. They used to be able to.
Okay.
But now they're not allowed to increase your rate individually based on
the claims you have.
It's based, most of the time it's community rated. So it's based on the claims ratio in your county or in your area or part of the country. And so Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people really hone in on, oh, well, what's my copay? You know, what does it cost when I go to the doctor?
Right.
And what I try to relay to people is, at the end of the day, health insurance is there for the same purpose that every other insurance is. It's there to protect you in the case of a loss.
Right.
And so you have to remember, I mean, the copays for your doctor, that's kind of like getting a free oil change with your car insurance, right? I mean, are you really going to make your whole decision based on one free oil change or a couple free oil changes? Right. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to look at it and say, well, I know that there's a guarantee of coverage and I know that I'm protected if, you know, the proverbial stuff hits the fan.
Right.
And that's what's really important.
Yeah. Do you think, and you know, again, I don't know much about health insurance. I've had it for many, many years. Us and our lifestyle, we're pretty healthy people. So going to the doctor is very unheard of for us. Right. You know, I think I had a kidney stone 10 years ago. It was the last time I went to the hospital. Right. And so very, very rarely do I ever go just because of our health. So I don't know much about it. Are all health insurance companies created equal? Right. You know, it's like if I go to, let's say, catastrophic, right? Because I know, you know, you can go to the doctor for ailments or whatever, but then you have, all right, you got to get me to the hospital now, right? Once I get to that level, right, are they all pretty much, hey, you're going to negotiate with the hospital and do the bill and stuff, and you have to pay it, right? Are they obligated to pay at that point?
Ready to boost your business's impact? Fully Promoted Fort Worth is your one-stop destination for branding needs, specializing in branded apparel and promotional products. They help attract, retain, and engage customers. From custom uniforms to eye-catching items, Fully Promoted Fort Worth has you covered. Contact them today to unlock your brand's potential. 817-803-4404. Fully Promoted, your success, their passion.
Looking to elevate your office meetings, client gifting, or corporate parties? Check out Gray's Craze, your one-stop destination for delightful catering options. Imagine impressing your colleagues and clients with our large charcuterie board, carefully curated with the finest artisanal cheeses, premium meats, and an array of accompaniments. And when it comes to client gifting, nothing says thank you quite like a luxurious selection of gourmet treats designed to meet your every need. Gray's Craze, catering that leaves a lasting impression.
The short answer is no. All health insurance companies are not created equally.
Okay.
It depends on the type of health insurance that you have. So there are, going back to the legislation thing, there are things that are called ACA compliant plans, or they're considered minimum essential coverage. And when they signed into, you've probably heard of the Affordable Care Act, that was signed into law and put in place back in 2014.
Right.
Signing that law, and a lot of people refer to it as Obamacare, and a lot of people are like, oh, it ruined everything. Well, the idea behind it, because I felt that way too, until I actually learned kind of how it works. And is it a perfect system? Absolutely not.
Right.
But we're working with the system that we're given, right? So when the ACA was signed into law, they set forward a minimum standard of coverage that if these companies wanted to be considered compliant, they had to offer certain benefits. And those things, they're 10 essential health benefits. Well, I won't cover all of them, but preventative and wellness services, there has to be no cap once you hit an out-of-pocket maximum, or once you hit your maximum contribution.
Right.
They have to cover things like maternity benefits, labor and delivery, things like that, mental health, and substance abuse treatment. Those are like kind of the big ones that are considered really important when you're looking at ACA compliant plans. Yeah. Well, if an insurance company, let's say Blue Cross Blue Shield, they're a good example. All of the plans that they offer are ACA compliant. Whether you buy it through your job, whether you buy it yourself, whether you call Blue Cross Blue Shield directly and buy it, they only offer ACA compliant plans.
Makes sense.
And what that means is that if you're on the individual market, those companies get to take advantage of tax credits. So based on your income, those plans can be a reduced cost based on your household size and your income. And they use it as a multiple of the federal poverty level. Basically, it's designed to where once you get out of the Medicaid qualification, you qualify for subsidies. And the reason that they did that is because there were so many people that simply did not have the money to pay for health insurance. And what happens when people don't have health insurance? They still go to the doctor. They still end up in the ER. They still end up in the hospital. And then the hospital has to turn around and write that off as bad debt.
Right.
And what that does is now the hospitals start charging more because they have to make up for the debt. And then now they're billing the insurance companies more. So the insurance companies have to increase their prices. So it's a vicious cycle.
Right.
And so the ACA was signed into law to try to help mitigate that. The government's saying, here, we're going to give X amount of money for these people so they can have coverage.
Right.
And it reduces the amount of bad debt the hospital incurs. Right. And ideally it reduces the amount of the cost of insurance.
Right.
And so outside of that realm, there's 1,000,001 companies that sell what we call non-compliant plans. And so those are things like short-term plans, fixed indemnity or fixed benefit plans are another one. And the thing is, some of these companies, they have really good salespeople. And so you, as somebody who doesn't know about health insurance, you wouldn't know the difference if they were trying to sell you that versus something else.
Right.
But those plans typically have a maximum amount that they will pay out, and they have all sorts of exclusions. Because if you don't fall under the ACA compliant umbrella, they can pick and choose what benefits they want to cover and what benefits they don't. And so I've seen a lot of people get sideways with those plans. They thought they had good health insurance.
Yeah.
And turns out they have a short-term plan that has a $15,000 deductible, and it only covers, $500,000, which sounds like a lot, but you end up in the hospital, $500,000 goes like that.
Yeah, I bet.
And so the biggest thing that I would say for anybody listening is if you're looking at health insurance, you always want to look for a guarantee of coverage. You want to look for some sort of cap, an out-of-pocket limit that the most that I could possibly pay is X amount. Yeah. And then the insurance company picks up the remainder.
Gotcha.
And so it's, definitely all of them are not created equally.
Yeah.
And a lot of the companies, they design the brochures and things like that to where you wouldn't know unless you read all the fine print and almost have an insurance license.
Right,
so that's why it's important to have somebody who is a broker who can, works with all of the companies and can give you realistic guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see some great value in that for sure. Cause you're right. It's like, we teach martial arts, right? And if you don't know anything about it, you can walk into some place and you're like, hey, right. But if you have someone that can speak the language and everything, then if you have experts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you, you could watch a bunch of YouTube videos on how to do martial arts. But you could go to Rex Kwon Do, like Napoleon Dynamite, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be good at it.
Yeah.
And so, even I'll give a good example. My brother, my brother he's a tech guy. He used to work he worked at GoDaddy for years and years and years.
Oh, cool.
And so he is super high level inside of the IT, computer world.
Yeah.
All of that stuff just goes over my head, right?
Right.
He's the opposite of me. He's very introverted, doesn't like people, just wants to sit on his computer all day. And that's fine. He recently got laid off, and he called me about 2 weeks out of losing his benefits and was like, hey, I'm losing my insurance. I went online, I looked up some stuff. He's like, but this is super expensive. He was looking at a Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana plan because he lives in Louisiana. Yeah. And he was like, do people really pay this? And I was like, okay, just take a beat. let me get some information. Like, I do this for a living, right? Yeah. And so we talked about it.
Yeah.
And turns out, I mean, he thought that he was going to pay $1,200 a month for his insurance. Well, turns out because he has a large family, and because he recently lost his job, and they have a side business, but it's not making near as much as he was when he worked and had 2 jobs. Yeah. His insurance for a family of 5, he's got 3 elementary school age kids, is $120 a month.
Dang.
For a family of 5. With good coverage. I mean, they can go to all their same doctors, get all their prescriptions, not have to worry about it. And he's like, I had no idea, because he had just gone online, tried to do it himself.
Yep.
And at the end of it, he goes, well, why do people call you because he was thinking about it from a tech perspective. He's like, well, what if we could create a thing where, there's an AI model that, can walk you through exactly what the recommendations compared to like what that do basically exactly what you did for me using, all these algorithms and stuff like that. I'm like, because you probably quoted yourself on a couple of those sites, and guess what?
Yeah.
You were about to pay $800 a month too much.
Right.
And so he's like, well, why do people go to you? And I'm like, because, I think customer service is not a dead, art. And people want somebody who has a little bit of experience and personal history with it to be able to say, hey, look, this is the pros and cons.
Right.
And like I said, there's no perfect plan out there.
Yeah, sure.
Just like it's not a perfect system. But, you pick what's best based on what's given to you.
Right.
So
no, that's great. I learned a lot through just that conversation. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
A question I had that's been on my mind and helped me understand it because I don't know enough. The difference between term life insurance and whole life insurance, the goods and bads, right? And again, I know we could probably talk a long time over just this subject, right? But just give me a bird's eye view on that, right? Which one should I go with and why?
If you can't tell, I could probably talk to a wall about insurance. So term and whole life, that's probably one of the most common questions in life insurance, right? So I put it like this. Term is for the what if. So what if something goes crazy? What if I die before I'm expecting to? Because you're a healthy person, right? Yeah. But you don't know. I mean, you could get hit by a truck, like Final Destination.
I'm not,
type
honey.
stuff.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, not planning on it. But so term is for the what if,
right?
For the oh crap moments.
Yep.
Whole life is for the when, because whole life, another term for it is permanent life.
Okay.
And I like the term permanent life because the way it's set up, term life is designed to cover you for a specified period of time, a specified term. So you have a policy term on your car insurance, you're covered for 6 months or you're covered for 12 months.
Got it.
Term life is 10, 20, 30. Some companies have 40-year terms. Okay. And typically you see higher benefit amounts, so higher face values or death benefits. So for example, we just wrote somebody it was a 32-year-old male, just been married a couple of years. They were looking, about to have their first kid. We got a 30-year term, $1 million worth of coverage for like $30 a month. And so you're going to pay $30 a month for 30 years. And if anything happens to you in those 30 years, you get that, then your beneficiary, your wife, spouse, whoever would get that $1 million.
Right.
A whole life policy typically has a lower death benefit, but there are a couple different ways to do it, but typically you're paying on that policy forever, permanently. You either pay for it permanently or you can put a term on the payment. So some companies have 20 pay. So you pay on it for 20 years and then it's paid in full. Yeah. The difference on permanent life insurance is that you can actually accumulate cash value because those whole life policies, the money that you put in is actually invested. You earn interest on the money. Okay. It's not invested, but you earn interest on the money that you've paid in.
Right.
So if you pay $100 a month, well, after the first year, you have $1,200. You're going to earn 4 to 6% interest on that, and it accumulates, right? Compounding interest over time.
Right.
So the cool thing about whole life is, yes, the death benefit's a little bit lower in the beginning. It's typically a little bit more expensive than term, right? Because if you look at it from an insurance perspective, like the insurance companies, they're really good. Their actuaries are really good at estimating how much they're going to have to pay out. So if a 30-year-old buys a 20-year term, chances are they're not going to die by the time they're 50. Right. So that means that the insurance company wins, right? Like the casino house wins.
Right.
A whole life policy, they know they're going to have to pay out at some point, as long as you keep paying your premiums. They're going to bank on you stopping paying your premiums at some point, and then that's just money gone down the drain. But that interest, you're able to put that back in, and it starts increasing the value of the policy.
Yeah.
And it's cool because you can actually turn around and use your life insurance policy as collateral if you need a loan. You can pull the cash value out. If you have $20,000 in cash value, you want to put a down payment on a home in 10 years, boom, you can pull that out, cash out that part. You still have your life insurance, and then you can use that money for whatever you please. So whole life insurance is, or permanent life insurance, a little bit more expensive, but there's a lot more that you can do with it.
Gotcha.
Versus term is a very inexpensive way to protect your family in the event of some sort of early death or something like that. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. No, great way to look at it there. So with you starting your business, right, a couple years into it, and again, you went to college with your MBA, so you learned a ton there, right?
Yes.
So one thing I always like to speak to is the beginning entrepreneur, right? Someone that just bought a business, just started a business, right? What are some things that you would tell them, some advice that you would give in the beginning stages of growing their business?
So, when I first started in insurance, obviously it was a 1099 only position, and a lot of those companies, they kind of feed you you have to view it as your own business, right? Because you're not getting paid by anybody. You're getting paid because of your work.
Right.
And so one of the things that I learned early on is that you have to, anytime that you go into either a pure commission 1099 type role or starting your business from the ground up, you need to really take ownership of whatever you're doing and do it with, especially if you're like starting, working for a company, maybe real estate or something, you're working for a brokerage, but you're getting paid 1099. You need to start from the beginning and create your own brand because you need, I started out, and about a year in, I was like, okay, I'm going to create my own LLC that I can funnel all of this through, and I'm going to create a brand. I don't want, I didn't want to be like a Marshall Watts State Farm agent, like Jake from State Farm, right? Like Jake has no identity outside of State Farm. I did not want a company to be my identity because I knew at some point I was like, I probably will want to branch off. But I learned a ton from working in what they call a captive environment where you work and sell for one company because it's kind of a good way to get your feet under you and get a good understanding of the business before you start. So I would say really take ownership, create your own brand from the jump. I mean, you are the person that will represent whatever products or services that you're selling. You need to not lean behind, hide behind a big national brand. You need to start creating a name for yourself. because that'll follow you wherever you go, you know? And so, and that was one thing that I learned from my dad. My grandfather actually started the family business, which is window coverings. And he started it back in 1975. My dad took it over in 1990, I believe. And my dad's still doing it. He's getting ready to retire. He just hit 70 this year.
Wow.
And he is, I mean, they don't do marketing. Like everything's just word of mouth.
Yeah.
And everybody knew the name because the old name of the company was Watts Window World. Okay. And so, and now it's Watts Window Coverings. But my dad created a brand for himself. He had an old Astro van that he used to drive around to appointments.
Yeah.
And he had this little sticker on the back and it said blind man driving, you know, because they put up blinds. And everybody
genius.
Just got the biggest kick out of it.
Oh, that's genius.
And so even 20 years later, like people still remember that sticker driving around town because it throws you off, right? You're like blind man. And you're like, uh-oh, like better avoid this guy. And then you see the sticker on the side. Yeah. That's like, oh, they do window cover, blind shades and shutters. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. And so that was one thing that I tried to do from the beginning. Yeah. The other piece of advice that I would have is, and I know maybe a couple of your other guests have mentioned it, but you want to find people that have accomplished or have succeeded where you want to succeed. Yeah. And just be a sponge. Because I didn't know anything about insurance. You know, I thought I knew a lot. Like I was, I consider myself somewhat of an academic. Like I really enjoyed school. But no amount of book work can teach you, you know, what experience teaches you. Right. And so, you know, I was very fortunate getting into our B&I group. You know, I started that less than a year after I started health insurance. And just some amazing people in there that really invested in me, invested time and energy in me, because I was the youngest member of the group at the time. Yeah. You know, I got in that group when I was 26. Wow. And you know, they really kind of put their arms around me and gave me a lot of good advice. Yeah. And without that support from other successful business people that weren't my dad. I mean, because family is one thing, but being around other successful business owners, I mean, I would have never felt confident enough to branch out and start my own without that type of support. So find a support system, you know, and having family support is super important as well. Yeah. But find a support system, create your own brand. That way, no matter what you do, even if you decide to pivot and move to a different industry, you still have made a name for yourself as an honest and trustworthy person. Right. And people will gravitate to that. People buy from people. People don't buy because a policy is good, right? Like people don't buy charcuterie from you guys because y'all have just hands down like the best, like the highest quality, these Parisian grapes and stuff. Like, no, like people buy from people that they like and people that they trust. And, you know, so that, I think that carries a lot of weight when you're starting out your own business. Yeah.
I think people struggle sometimes when they're starting out on getting out and putting themselves out there. Right. And my advice on that I've given many business owners before they open, right, is to start putting yourself out there ahead of time. Right. Because of that. Right. And I love how you said it. You're building your own brand. Right. Not necessarily like the name on the building brand, but who you are. Right. Because people are going to buy from you because of you. And that's your brand. That's you. Right. And just putting yourself out there. I love that. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. And I learned that, you know, that was an experience that I learned in college too. So I started DJing when I was in college.
I did not know that.
And so, fun fact. And so what happened, you know, over time is I just put myself out there. I was posting online, posting on Facebook, all that stuff. And people started seeing me around DJing at different places. And they started to know my name. And so my old DJ name was DJ Megawatt. So Marshall Watts, Megawatt, kind of kind of rolled off the tongue, right? And so I ended up doing a lot of different fraternity parties, sorority parties, things like that.
Yeah.
But to this day, I still see people that I know from college, and they still call me Megawatt.
There you go.
Because they remembered that name, and they remembered who I was from 10 years ago, you know? And so it really is powerful to put yourself out there, and, you just, especially if you're starting your own thing, like you have to be kind of unashamed. Like you gotta, everybody's scared. Everybody's nervous to try to start something new. And no matter what, you're going to have people that might be nice to your face, but behind the scenes, they're preying on your downfall, and that's just the nature of life.
True.
But the earlier and the more you put yourself out there, and just be genuine. Don't try to be somebody that you're not.
Yeah.
People will gravitate to that. You attract the type of customers and things like that you want by being yourself.
Yeah. Great. So we're getting closer to the end, right? So I always say that those that have watched this long are typically my wife or maybe your wife, right?
Probably.
Or maybe some of our friends. But no, the show's growing. We think we're almost at 13,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we're over 3 million views total in 7 months. So
pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's growing. But what I would like to do is I would like for you to tell us something that maybe no one knows about you.
So, so I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but in college, it's kind of funny because in college I was completely different. Like I had very different interests and things like that. So something that a lot of people might not know unless they went to school with me, as I was a cheerleader at TCU. And so coming out of high school, I was not a cheerleader in high school. I was an offensive lineman. I was a center, right?
Okay.
And so I looked at going to school for football, but I had several knee injuries, and my orthopedic surgeon was basically like, well, you could do it, but you'll have a double knee replacement by the time you're 30. And I was like, maybe not.
Probably not.
And so I was like, I don't know if I like it that much to like have bionic knees when I'm 30.
Yeah.
And so I had some friends that basically convinced me to try out for the cheer team. And I was like, why would I be a cheerleader? Like I'm a football player. Like, because we had one male cheerleader at my school, and he did flips. He tumbled. He was a tumbler. I was like, that's not me. Like, I'm 250 pounds. Like, that's not going to happen. Like I like to keep my feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And so, but I went to the gym, and, I threw up one of the cheerleaders a couple times and caught her, and I was like, man, this is fun. Like, it's basically like weightlifting, but with pretty girls. Right? And so one of the things, basically I'm a huge sports guy. And so the way I looked at it, I was like, well, I get to have the best seat in the house.
Yep.
I get to hang out with the prettiest girls at school, and I get to go to all the games for free. I was like, sign me up. Yeah, sign me up. And so I was a cheerleader, and when I decided to start DJing, I kind of rolled my cheer career because a lot of people knew me from the games. Okay. Because I was on the field. I was actually, if anybody that watches goes to TCU games, at the beginning of the game, there's a guy that comes out in the middle of the field and starts the Go Frogs chant before the team runs out. Okay. Before Welcome to the Jungle turns on and the showgirls come out and the football players come out. And so I was actually the first Go Frogs guy when they instituted that when I was in school. And so I was on, center field with the mic, starting the chant for the whole stadium. And so a lot of people knew my face. And so when I started DJing, I could just tell the cheerleaders, I'm like, hey, I'm DJing here. Like, y'all come here. Oh, man. And so here's the funny thing. So cheerleaders come, right? And then the baseball players and football players follow the cheerleaders. Of course. And then the sorority girls follow the baseball players and football players. And then the fraternity guys follow the sorority girls. And so it's like, it's like a it just turned into something that was really cool. And I just did it to, pay the bills, pay my rent and stuff like that, cover my utilities. But it was a really cool experience. And I had long flowing hair. I had hair like down to here. And I was, I looked kind of like a homeless person. And I wore sweatpants to class and like all that stuff. Yeah. And so now to turn around and, I'm very fortunate for my wife because, she kind of like taught me how to dress and all of those things.
It's like, come here, boy, we're getting you a haircut.
Now I'm in the insurance industry, which is known to be kind of stuffy and, the stuffy and boring and a bunch of old guys. And so, cool. It's kind of neat. I'm very blessed for that experience because it taught me, like you said before, like how to get myself out there. Yeah. I mean, you have nowhere to hide when you're a cheerleader. Yeah. You have nowhere to hide when you're a DJ because if you mess up, like everybody at the bar hates you. Right. Like everybody's like, boo, leave. Yeah. And so, I think a lot of those experiences, it kind of helped me when I got into sales because as a cheerleader, no matter how you're feeling, you have to turn it on. You have to smile. You have to be loud. You have to be energetic. Right. Same with sales. I mean, it doesn't really matter how you feel. You have to turn it on because the customer can feel that. Yeah. And so learned a lot of really cool things from doing that. But I don't think I look like a typical TCU cheerleader, but it was cool because I got to. Now I actually get to watch the games from the stands. I never got to watch a single game from the stands as a student. Right. And so now I get to sit on the other side, and
that's cool.
Admittedly, it's a lot more comfortable with the AC and everything else. So yeah.
So in high school, I was a gymnast.
I saw you posted a picture of that the other day. Yeah.
So every time the Olympics come around, right, it just brings back memories and stuff. But anyway, 12th grade, they needed a guy to be a cheerleader. And so they asked me, they said, hey, we would love for you to try out.
Yeah.
And I was with my wife at the time. We just started dating in 11th grade. And so I said, hey, the coach wants me to be a cheerleader. And that did not go over very well. No. Yeah. And I was thinking the same thing, right? I mean, pretty girls, all that. And she did not like that.
My high school girlfriend didn't really appreciate it when I joined the college cheer team.
I end up not doing it, but I was asked to do it as well too. So I identify with that a little bit.
Well, believe it or not, I used to be able to do a back tuck.
Okay, that's impressive.
So that was the one thing my coach was like, you have to be able to do this, and I ended up breaking my foot learning how to do it. Got a Jones fracture from landing so much. Yep. But I had a back tuck at one time, and then, of course, I blew out my knee in the middle of a Big 12 basketball tournament halftime show. So I went to cheer because I thought it'd be better on my knees, and it was definitely not better on my knees.
Yeah, for sure.
But believe it or not, I was able to flip around in the air at one time. Never going to do it again. But
that is pretty cool. It's fun times. Okay, so how would someone get a hold of you if they're wanting to have like a one-on-one consultation or something like that to talk about their insurance, questions or whatever, right? What's the best way to reach you at?
Absolutely. So the first thing I wanted to say was just one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that everything that we do, there's no charge associated with any of it. So we don't charge like broker fees or anything else. We're not like consultants or lawyers where we charge you $150 an hour. Right. Everything that we do, whether you buy or not, is absolutely free. So it's worth it to at least have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Because I'll guide you in the right direction. And, at the end of the day, if you're in the best situation, I'll say, hey, stay where you are. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. Because, I think it's better to just be honest and upfront with people, and they'll appreciate that. And all of our business is based on referrals. And so if you treat people right, they're going to tell people about you.
Agreed.
But the easiest way to get a hold of me, my website, marshinsurancegroup.com. We do pretty much everything by appointment only. And so there's a booking page that you can go on there, discuss any type. We have all the different types of insurance if you're looking for business or whatever it is. Yeah. I have an office line, 817-562-0903. But most of our stuff just goes straight through our website. Yeah. I even have people text me and reach out, and I just send them a link to my booking page.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's just easier, and I want to make sure that I have the time to dedicate to that person. I have buffer times built into my calendar so I don't overbook myself. And at the end of the day, most of the time I end up having 2, 3, 4 conversations with somebody, but my goal is I want you to walk away having peace of mind, right? Because we're not selling a tangible product.
Right.
Health insurance, life insurance, it's all there so you can take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm taken care of. If something happens, God forbid, we're taken care of. So marshinsurancegroup.com is probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. And, I'll vouch for you. I've known you for almost several years now. And most people that come on the Biz Life, I sort of vet a little bit just by knowing them and everything. And if you're interested in insurance of any kind, health insurance, life insurance, I'm sure you do other things as well too, employee benefits and packages, stuff like that. So reach out to Marshall. He's an amazing guy. Gives my thumbprint of approval, whatever. So
there you go.
I don't have that yet, but maybe so. Maybe one day we'll do it like a Biz Life stamp of approval.
I like it.
Cool. Well, anyway, thank y'all for watching the Biz Life. We'll see you next time. Please like, subscribe, share out. All that really helps the algorithm and continue to grow the channel. So talk to you next time.